All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do some editing in Descript. So if you have a podcast or you have a recording that you've done, maybe in Zoom or an Ecamm, StreamYard, Restream, all of those platforms, you can get that content and download it onto your hard drive and be able to chop it up into vertical videos, which is what we're going to talk about today. But certainly, you're not just limited to videos that are vertical in nature. You can create square and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm going to go through some of my process. We just recorded a new video, a new podcast on a show that I co-host called Dealcasters. And so I thought, you know what, I got to continue to start creating and repurposing clips from that conversation with Brandon Berkmeyer. And so what better way to do it than to share that with you? And so I'm going to, kind of give you sort of a behind the scenes peek into what I do with those videos, how I go about doing it. If you've got any questions, please, if you're live and you want to ask questions, I'll have an eye on the chat and can answer those questions. But if you're watching this on replay, I'm certainly, will be looking at those comments and can answer any questions you've got there. From a perspective of what I'm using to edit, I've shown you this before. This is what's called the Toolbox Elite, and this is what I use to do my editing in video. And one of the reasons why I use this is because, I have to put a affiliate link in the description. So in case you want to just check that out, you can go and pick it up on Amazon. But I like a tactile editor. I want to get away from keyboard and mouse and create a process for me. And Toolbox Elite allows me to do that. I can program specific things into it for Descript in this case, but also Logic, which I use to edit audio podcasts, and Final Cut Pro, which is what I use to edit video. Jim Fuse in the house. Hello, Jim. Thanks for popping in. Jim, you might find this interesting. I'm going to edit the podcast that we did. So Jim here is with Fusion Marketing, and he is my co-host on Dealcasters. And so I'm going to edit today in Descript a video that I did with Jim on Dealcasters, and that's with Brandon Berkmeyer. Now, Descript, when you first get it, looks very daunting and kind of boring, but gets pretty exciting pretty quickly. I mentioned this in a previous video. You want to make sure you're keeping the stuff on the cloud that you don't need locally, especially when you're talking about video. It can really clog up your system, and you want to make sure that or I should say fill up your hard drives, not really clog up your system. So you want to make sure that what you don't need, that you go and you click this little button over here, this 3-dot deal, and you click remove download. And when you do that, that keeps the file up on the cloud, so to speak, where Descript stores your files, and it removes it from your local hard drive. So I have gone ahead and I'm working on this particular interview with Brandon Berkmeyer. And you can see I've already got a clip made from this. And just really quickly, how I got to this point is I went here to the original file itself. As it comes in, it looks very much like this. And I took the 3 individual ISO or ISO videos one from me, and one from Jim, and one from Brandon. I drag them into this. Descript says, hey, we're going to transcribe this. You say, okay. And then you identify each speaker. And so you could see here when you go down to where Brandon is speaking, you're going to see him talking, and you're going to hear him talking.
People don't know I spent 17 years in corporate. And to your point about purpose, if I wanted to be making money, I would have stayed in corporate. Like that was, the golden goose paycheck.
Let me go and do that. Always fun when we're live, isn't it? And let me just get this sound handled. My output, eCam, virtual, system audio. Not quite sure why all of a sudden I'm getting.
Being an entrepreneur is not easy. It doesn't pay as well. And it's
great. Jim's got a question. Is that in Descript Cloud, or do you have to use Google Drive or something else for cloud storage? Excellent question, Jim. It is in there in Descript's cloud. So basically, when you drag over the files themselves, first you got to grab the files themselves. Unless you've recorded it in Descript or on Squadcast, where those files can stay on Descript's sort of cloud. But in order for you to actually edit the video, they've got to come onto your hard drive. You can't edit air. So you'll have to download it locally in order to edit it, like you see here. Otherwise, this would just be, blank. And then you edit it. And once you're done and you've downloaded the files that you want on your local hard drive or your own cloud service or your own, whatever your own hard drive internally, you then go back here into your main. And I'll just go over here. I've got all of my clients over here, and here's the Dealcaster stuff. You go over here, and you'll see those three dots, and then you would click Remove Download, and that removes the download from your local storage, but it remains up there. So as you can see, I'll go back to all of my projects. You'll see some of them have this little cloud download symbol next to them. These are all files that I no longer need. I'm still downloading. So in other words, this one doesn't have that little cloud. It's because I'm still, editing some clips from the Creator Collab interview that I did with James Hicks and Melanie Diane Howe. But some of these other ones that, like the Peter Lazowski interview, Jim, that you and I had with Peter, I've gone ahead and removed the download locally from my system. Now, if I wanted to go back into it, I could certainly do that. I would just need to go over here, click the three dots, and then click download, and then that would download it. I know I'm sort of covering up that little space, so I'll go over here and scroll up a little bit so I'm not covering it. But here, the Peter Lazowski video is there. I can click on that and click download, and that would download the entire video onto my system. The reason why you do this is you can see just how large these files are. If you have 3 people in HD video, even at 720, you're looking at pretty large size. And so you can imagine what 1080 and 4K video would get you. It would be very sizable in terms of the amount of size here. The Peg Fitzpatrick interview that we did is 13.6 gigs. So it's pretty big. And so it's, like I said, if as many interviews as I do and as I edit, I really will need to, keep them off of my hard drive as much as possible. I've got these copies saved locally and stored, off on other cloud services that I use. But there's no reason having another copy on here that Descript puts on your computer. So I hope that answers your question. Now I have to figure out why I can't hear. Maybe you guys can. Jim, if you're still watching, let me know if you can hear this or not. I'll definitely need to hear it no matter what. But for whatever reason, the system audio... Let's see. All right.
From doing the work and looking back and say, yeah, I kept that promise. I did that
through. Interesting. So I may need to figure this out. Yeah, you're welcome, Jim. Were you able to hear this video when I hit play? That might be helpful, Jim.
work.
Let me know if you hear
And
Brandon
whether the
speaking.
result was great or not what I expected it to be, I committed to something and I did it.
Not sure why I'm not. Local system audio is here. It's not coming through. Okay, so you can hear him. Thank you, Jim, for that. For those of you watching, go follow Jim Fuse of Fusion Marketing. It's a solid human. If I'm not hearing it, then I am going to need to... So you hear his audio and I don't. Why would I not hear? Oh, I know. Live video, live video, live video, live video. Let's see. Do I hear him now? Ah, now I'm hearing him. Jim, do you hear him? I don't know if... Okay, I can hear him, but Jim, I'm not seeing the system audio come through here on this end. I wonder... Using the Ecamm virtual app. Oh, I think I know it. Aha. I think I figured it out now, Jim. This is what you get when you team up with great human beings. They help you out on live streams.
To say, did this work? Do I have the listeners I was
should be hearing his
Did it
voice
give me any
now.
other benefits I wasn't expecting? And then I can reevaluate. Do I want to keep going for another 6 months? But the only way...
Let me know if you hear him now, Jim, or not. I think I just solved the issue. But, all right. Thanks for that, Jim. I'll wait for your response. Let me know if you do hear
that works
Brandon.
is if during those 6 months, you don't judge yourself.
But you can see how this is
week after week. You're not going to judge yourself until
a really powerful program with Descript and how you do it. And so thank you, Jim. Now we're cooking with gas, or cooking with Pam, as our good friend Doc Rock would say. All right, now we're ready to go. Thanks for those who are watching and staying patient on this whole thing. So the original files come in looking like this. And I constructed these files, and just a quick recap on how this works. Each one of these video files, very much like a Photoshop or a Canva or other sort of video DAWs or digital audio workstations, they come in layers. And if you want to see what those layers look like, my easiest way to get to what's called a sequence, because we created a sequence in Descript. So the sequence means Descript is recognizing these 3 video files in this case as an interview. And so there's a structure for the interview. Somebody talks, and sort of lines up everything. And to see how that looks, I go in here and I hit right click and click Edit Sequence. And when I go to that, you're going to see here how this looks. You can see Brandon here is the one here on the top. Let me close this for now, so you can see everything a little bit clearly. Brandon here, then Jim Fuse, then Chris Stone. And so you'll see as I hit play, and you'll hear Brandon talk.
It doesn't pay as well, and it's a pain. It's a lot of work.
And so, but if I click here on Jim, you're going to see Jim show up, and there's Jim. And if I click here on me, there's me. And so they're stacked like this, and they're stacked like this in the sequence, but you can determine and edit with the actual script how this is going to look, and I'll show you how that works. While we're here, if you feel like a guest doesn't have a good setup, and Brandon does, he's got his headphones on, he's in a decently well-treated room, and he's got his microphone in close to his mouth, so you're not getting a ton of echo. But sometimes people show up and they don't have a microphone and they're using a laptop mic or whatever. There's a thing called Studio Sound, and you go over here and you click on that button, and it uses the internet, so you're going to have to wait for it to do the little magic and sprinkle the magic Studio Sound dust on it. And then when that's over and it applies the studio sound, it will apply effects to it. So that means that, it's going to, try to suck out all the echo and the reverb in the room. And sometimes that can affect the voice the wrong way. The words are kind of cut off at the end of it. And so you have this little button here that can attenuate the percentage of studio sound on it. And so, you might want to slap on there and go, okay, this sounds way too affected, and you can just adjust it down so that it sounds fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and start editing on this. And like I said, these are layers, and so Brandon was on the top. But if I go let me get my layer here with my Insta on there so you can see the keystrokes. Your bracket buttons here are the buttons that will change the order of the layer. And now you can go in here and you can click on your layers where you see here's Brandon's layer, here's Chris's layer, and here's Jim's layer. And if I were to use this and hide the layer, which is this little eyeball, you're going to see Brandon disappear, and you're going to see me underneath it. And then if I were to hit the eyeball here, I would disappear, and then Jim is here. And if I were to click him, it would completely disappear. And then if you want to show it, you just open up the little eyeball, and everybody's back to here. So that gives you the concept of how these layers work. Now, the Descript functionality, their AI, is called Underlord. And that's this up here. And what I did initially to get these vertical clips that, from the interview is I went in here and I typed create clips. And when you click create clips, it will give you, it will ask you the number of clips that you want, and then generally the clip duration. And sometimes it goes a little bit over, but for the most part, it keeps it under the time that you want it to. So if you're, we'll create 60 seconds, which works for, YouTube. I know YouTube is going to longer shorts, but if you wanted, to keep it to where you could apply it to multiple platforms, TikTok, Instagram, etc., you're probably good at around 60 seconds. If you start to go into these things and you need a little bit longer, like, oh, he didn't really finish what he wanted to say, or she didn't really set it up properly, you could do that and then say, okay, let's make this more of a 4 or 5 minute video, and we can put it on LinkedIn. You can adjust the sizing later. You can do all of that stuff later. It's really, really, really cool. You have layouts that you can use if you want to use those. Creating your own layouts is what I like to do, and I'll show you how we do that today. And I use, you can put in a topic, and it will, Underlord will look for those types of topics in the conversation to use for clips. So if I go ahead and I hit submit here, Underlord is thinking, and it doesn't take very long at all. It just takes, it's less than a minute typically, especially from a 1 hour video. And it will just go ahead and give you perspective clips that you might be able to use for your social media, for whatever. Okay, there we go. And the other thing it does is it gives you each one of these clips, it gives you the amount of time, and then it gives you a rating, which I guess is, I don't know how they get their rating, and it's sort of like, well, we think this one is the best. It's like, well, who are you to say that that's the best? Anyway, be a human here. Don't just take what they give you and slap it out there. So the first one says, become a thought leader now. No more gatekeepers. Clip is powerful and inspiring, encapsulating the essence of, I would never say any of this, by the way. So, the essence of democratized access to knowledge and tools, encouraging listeners to seize the opportunity to share their unique ideas without barriers. All right, so let's just say we're going to use that. We would click on that, and now we actually have Brandon, sort of talking about this. Now, that gives you sort of the setup of what I did. I'm not going to use any of these clips, by the way. I'm going to use the clips I've already used or already set up. So in order to do that, I'm going up to the very top, right here at the very top, and I'm clicking this little down arrow, and here it's going to show me the main thing and then clips that I've already created. I've identified those 1 through 6. And these ones that I just showed you how to do are below it. Okay, so I'm checked on here. That means this is the one that I've checked. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you some previous clips that I already started working on, and then I'm just going to finish it and start hammering through it. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. This is clip 6, and here is clip 5. I'm going to try, I think clip 5, yeah. So clip 5 is the one that I've already done. And this one, my process is I start here in Descript. I have the captions built. Sometimes I'll do this wave, or I'll show you how to do that kind of stuff. And then I create scenes, and these scenes are different, and you could start to see how this looks. It's like single into this particular look, which includes Brandon and myself and Jim. Jim, your eyes are closed. You're sleeping during this part. I'm sure he's blinking. I'm just kidding. And then there's an example of another scene here where I took out the background around Brandon, which is a green screen function in Descript, and then pulled in some B-roll to go behind him to help tell the story. And the other thing that I love about Descript is each time you do a scene, you shouldn't have the captions be in the same place every time, because what that can do is I could cover up someone's face, go over their eyes, and really sort of distract, I think, in a lot of ways. These captions are meant to be helpful for sure when somebody is, either on mute or, has hearing disability, something like that. And they are important to have, I think, in a lot of vertical things. But I do think it's important that you could see it doesn't cover up anybody. So if I were to use that very same location for these captions as I do here, it would go over Brandon's eyes. And we don't want that. We want people to be able to, see him, and it doesn't distract, and it keeps the story flowing. And you can see there's another scene here where I create some B-roll of him on stage and him speaking. Back to solo, and then back here I added some stock footage, and I'll show you how I did that. Again, moving the captions so that it does not distract, but it continues to move forward. And I think pretty much, yeah, everything's the same. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for you, and then I'm just going to create another clip here, and we'll show you how this works.
Trust yourself, which is consistency and like a commitment to the process. I think trust comes from doing the work and looking back and say, yeah, I kept that promise. I did that work. And whether the result was great or not what I expected it to be, I committed to something and I did it. And that shows proof that like you can accomplish something you set your mind to. You just got to have the right goals for that to happen. I trust myself. I'll say, I'll look at this podcast. I'll do it for 6 months. I'm not going to question, was it successful or not? I'm just going to get better at it every day. And at 6 months, I can make a rational business decision to say, did this work? Do I have the listeners I was hoping for? Did it give me any other benefits I wasn't expecting? And then I can reevaluate. Do I want to keep going for another 6 months? But the only way that works is if during those 6 months, you don't judge yourself day after day, week after week. You're not going to judge yourself until the 6 months is over.
All right, so there you go. You can kind of see how it flows. One thing I didn't mention, and as we go through and edit one of these, this slash key is what will create a new scene for you. And, I'll show you my process instead of just talking about it. Let me go to clip 4 and see what we've got in clip 4. I started creating some scenes here in clip 4, so we'll go ahead and do that. Fear versus ambition, the choice is yours, is what the title that they gave us. I like it. The Choice is Yours is a great hip-hop song, so I may end up using it. All right, so let's go ahead and hit play. Always listen to what's being given, and then you'll also not only get the context for it, but you'll start to get the vision of what you want it to look like, what you want to pop in. And then I just sort of listen to it one time through and then just kind of create scenes for pattern interrupts so that you don't have just a single talking head the entire time or 3 heads just nodding on the screen. You kind of want to, create a story. So let's hear what we got here.
You can frame something based on, you know, if you want to be afraid of it or if you want to chase it, right? If you want to be afraid of it, yeah, sure. Like you're going to teach people how to build personal brands and they're going to leave you someday. What I would rather spin that to say is, wouldn't you want to be the company that is known for developing the best and brightest talent in your industry? Like, wouldn't you want to be known? Because what happens when that is the case? Well, when you're known as the company that has the best people working somewhere, it's like a magnet. It attracts
Yes.
other great people who want to now come in and learn that system that way. Like a company like when McKinsey got into consulting and BCG and those like big management consulting groups, like they put in processes where you came in out of college knowing nothing about how to do this. They trained you on the job in their way and how to run case studies and do their work. And it's like trial by fire. And when you come out of it, like you want to be hired, like companies want to hire you, not just to do that work, but eventually to be CEOs and CMOs because you were trained in that way.
Okay. Great clip. It absolutely talks about what the question was when we asked this of Brandon was, he goes to companies to work with their employees on creating personal brands for themselves. And my question to him was, doesn't this seem like, you know, for if I'm a company, if I'm a CMO or CEO of a company, and I'm bringing someone into my company to help someone leave, right? They create a personal brand for themselves, and then all of a sudden you know, like, I want to keep them here, right? Doesn't that seem like it's a threat of some sort? So there's a couple ways I can do about this. This reel is already a minute 5. I do see some points where I could just kind of pull out some editing here and make it a little bit easier. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new or show you a new function that I haven't done on these videos before, and that is called Let me just grab this video again. Sorry about that. It's called Edit for Clarity. So go back to, you know, we're here on this video and, you know, it's a minute 5 and you can edit for clarity. Sometimes edit for clarity doesn't really work that well, but I found that it works pretty well. There's a couple of things right here. I think you can take out the word right. You could certainly, there's 2 ways of removing what they call filler words in Descript. You can remove it outright and it just edits it. It just basically chops it right out. That can create problems, especially with the word like. Brandon says like sometimes as a filler word, but he also says, I like something. And Descript is going to recognize the same word no matter what the context is. So you have to understand as an editor the words that you might not want to take out. And so a lot of times what I'll do when I go to remove filler words is I'll leave them in the actual video, but remove them from the transcript. And why would I do that? I'm going to be adding captions. And if a word like used in the wrong context, or a word like or you don't want that in the transcript. You don't want somebody to read right? He may say it, and that's fine if he says it, you know, occasionally. But if you want people to be able to read it, you don't want in the transcript. And I think you'll see here that where it's underlined, you can see here, like, he says it twice. So this is a repeated phrase. But, you know, I would be careful to remove like as a filler word here because you can hear how it sounds.
You want to be hired, like companies want to hire you, not just to do that work, but eventually to be CEOs and CMOs.
I think it sounds fine. So what I would do here is I would highlight these and I would remove those from the transcript. So that when the caption shows up that you don't see like, if that makes sense. So you can certainly remove those things. You could certainly, when you go here to click remove filler words, you can see that has identified that as a filler word, right? And I could just hit delete and delete those, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove from transcript. And you're going to see those, that like, everything that's highlighted will be removed from the transcript, but you will hear it said. So I'm going to go ahead and hit remove from transcript and hit remove all. Looks like there's 9 things here. Right, like wouldn't you want, well when you're known. Those are kind of things like unnecessary, right? So we'll go ahead and hit remove all, but you'll still hear him, so it will sound fluid like he talks. And so here's an example. We'll go back to where it was.
You want to be hired, like companies want to hire you, not just to do that work, but eventually to be.
He says it so quickly, if you edit it, it's just going to sound bad. So, I think every once in a while, let people talk, right? And so here we go. Let's go a little bit deeper in here and go edit for clarity. So I'll go to Underlord, and you can see right at the top, there's edit for clarity. There's that studio sound that we talked about, but his sound is fine. Remove filler words, remove retakes, shorten word gaps. So if there's gaps, I don't like to do that automatically. I like to go in there and myself to do it. But I'm going to go ahead and edit for clarity. Right now we're at 1:05 in length. Let's see what edit for clarity does. You can you can edit intensity. So if you want it to be low, medium, or heavy, you can do that. So I'm just going to go to medium and submit and see what it did. Now, the cool thing here is, oh, wow, it cut like 11 seconds out of that. And, the cool thing here is it will show you what it removed. So if you're going through here and you're like, oh, I don't like that it removed that, you can go back and restore it. So, edit for clarity isn't like, this is the last resort type of thing. So let's hear, now we're under a minute. Let's hear what we got.
You can frame something based on, if you want to be afraid of it or if you want to chase it, right? You're going to teach people how to build personal brand.
Already, I don't like that. You can hear like he's about to say right, and you could see down here, it just sounds stilted.
You want to be afraid of it or if you want to chase it, right? You're going to teach people how.
He starts to say right. Let's see if we can take that out.
On, if you want to be afraid of it or if you want to chase it. You're going to teach people how to build personal brands.
I don't like the way that starts either. If you chop up these things too much, it can really get just not natural sounding.
Want to chase it. You're going to teach people how to build.
Right there. Let's keep the right in there.
You want to chase it, right? You're going to teach people how to build personal.
He says let's see, let's cut off that part, see if that sounds natural.
Chase it, right? Teach people how to build personal brands. Chase it, right? You're going to teach people how to build personal.
There it is. All right. So the other trick here is, wherever you're doing a harder edit like that, it's always good to create another scene. So when he gets to the end of the chase and he says right, even though this says if. So I'm going to change this word if to right with a question. So the way to do that is, and I'm doing this for captions. So I'll show you what I mean specifically by that. So I highlight the word if, and then here I'm going to hit correct, and I'm going to type in right and the question mark, and then click correct. All right, and so when I add captions, you'll see why that's the right way to do this.
You can frame something based on, if you want to be afraid of it or if you want to chase it, right? You're going to teach people how to build personal brands and they're going to leave you someday. What I would rather spin that to say is, wouldn't you want to be the company?
Okay. So right before wouldn't, he pauses and makes a mouth click. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Grab the blade tool right before wouldn't, and then when you hover over the seam, it's going to create this thing, and you can just kind of drag it over. Now, again, like I said, when you make a hard edit like that, what I like to do is create a scene. So right before he says wouldn't, which is right here, create a scene, and you're going to see that show up here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the slash key, and there you saw a scene. So now this is a different scene. So we went from single Brandon to the three of us talking, right, to another scene of single Brandon. What I would rather say is, and then this is another scene, which creates another pattern interrupt for you. Now you can go back to the scene that you've already created, or you can create a new scene, something like a green screen, kind of tells the story of what he's trying to talk about. So far we're good.
I would rather spin that to say is, wouldn't you want to be the company that is known for developing the best and brightest talent in your industry? Like, because what happens, well, when you're known as the company that has the best people working, it's like a magnet.
All right, we're going to grab right after that and edit that, create a scene. Now we have this.
Developing the best and brightest talent in your industry. When you're known as the company that has the best people working, it's like a magnet. It attracts other great people who want to.
Working sounds funny. Blade tool. Let's grab this tool. Gotta be careful with the blade tool. If you start using the blade tool, then
it's like a magnet. It attracts the best people working. It's like a magnet. It attracts.
Yeah. I'm not sure why it cut off the words somewhere, but I think
people working somewhere. It's like a magnet. It attracts other great people who.
Okay. Here's another thing that I like to keep in mind. Like, you can hear me or Jim say yes behind Brandon talking. So just keeping that in mind, I want to have us on the screen collectively, as opposed to him being on the screen singularly, and then you hear somebody saying something. So that's also, it's something to be mindful of. It's either that or remove the audio of somebody saying yes, which is you could certainly do that by going and editing the sequence. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Company that has the best people working somewhere. It's like a magnet. It attracts other great people.
Okay, so right after Brandon says attracts, it sounds like I'm saying yes. So here we go.
Magnet. It attracts other great people.
All right, I say it very quietly, but right here, if I were to click on edit sequence, you would go in and see there is me saying yes right here on my track. Now I can leave it and have me be on the screen with Jim and Brandon, and so it's me saying yes, which is probably a little more engaging. It's sort of emphasizing what Brandon's saying. But if I have to have Brandon on the screen only for that scene, and I want to remove me saying yes, you could always go here and what I like to do is chop in each side of me saying yes, right? And then go to your pointer, go here, and then go to the audio up here, which is, I have this highlighted. I've got audio here, and then I would just hit mute clip. And now if you were to hit play, you wouldn't hear me say it.
Working somewhere. It's like a magnet. It attracts other great people who want to now come in.
So you didn't hear me. And that applies to the entire sequence, which includes the video that you're editing. But I'm going to go ahead and undo that. I'm hitting Command Z, and that will undo the blades that I made. And now we're just going to hit done, and now we're back to the sequence. So we can worry about that stuff later, but that's, I felt like that was an opportunity to let everybody know how that works.
It attracts other great people who want to come in and learn that system. Like when McKinsey got into consulting and BCG.
System feels like it got cut off. Okay, I'm gonna because I have some time here to play with. It's only 52 seconds. I'm going to let him finish that sentence and pull in and maybe add a like so it sounds a little more fluid.
And learn that system that way. I mean, like when McKinsey got into consulting,
Sounds much more
and BCG
fluid.
and those big management consulting groups, they put in processes where you came in out of college knowing nothing about how to do this. They trained you on the job in their way and how to run case studies and do their work. And it's like trial by fire. When you come out of it, companies want to hire you, not just to do that work, but eventually to be CEOs and CMOs because you were trained in that way.
All right. That works for me in terms of, so that's really the biggest part of the editing. Now's the fun part. So it's got to flow. The editing, especially like, for when you do edit for clarity, I think it's important that you go in and elongate some of those edits so it sounds more natural. So it sounds like, in this case, Brandon saying something fluidly, and it's not just chopping him, chop, 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 chop. I think, especially from an audio perspective, it sends people running for the hills when you just don't have something that sounds natural. All right, so we have a bunch of these scenes set up already, but let's go through and start doing this. Fun part.
Based on, if you want to be afraid of it or if you want to chase it, right? If you're going to teach people how to build personal brands and they're going to leave you someday. What I would rather spin that to say is, wouldn't you want to be the company that is known for developing the best and brightest talent in your industry? When you're known as the company that has the best people working somewhere, it's like a magnet.
All right, we're gonna do a slash there.
It attracts other great people who want to come in and learn that system that way. I mean, like,
okay, there's a pretty hard edit there, like when McKinsey, and so I'm going to do that. And then since I say yes in here on attracts, I'm going to grab this scene right here. Now, there's a couple ways we can do this. I've already created this scene, okay? So if I want to apply that to this scene, which is, and these are all labeled here. So I'm on scene 6, and then you can look over here, here's scene 6. If I want to copy that scene 2 to scene 6, I can hit right click and copy layout, and then go down to scene 6 right here and hit paste layout right here. And boom, that copies the same layout from this particular scene. That's a pretty easy way to do it. Another way you could do it is if you want to change it. Like maybe I want, let's flip Jim and Chris in this particular scene. And I'll show you how to do that. You just kind of drag and get things lined up. Looks like our heads are really big. At least mine is. Here's a crop. Let's go grab the crop mode. Let's not do that. Let me bring myself over. Good thing about this is that you have those brackets that are set up for you, so you can kind of align things properly. And so now I have a version that includes us, but, and I'm going to make my head a little more commensurate with Jim's. And crop that in. All right, so this now is a different scene because I've flopped the two of us, okay? And so I could just save this as a new layout. So you go down, you right-click it, and save layout. And these are a bunch of layouts that I've already created for other shows. And if I were to create a new template, let's call this Jim, Chris, Brandon, Flop. Let's just call it Brandon Flop, because we flopped, and that I know what the flop is. We'll call it Brandon Flop. All right, so now that's a new layout in the, what they call private pack. So if I want to add that, let's just say I want to create that very same thing at the very end. Let's just create, and it's trial by 4. And when you come out of it, so we'll create this scene down here. Now, if I want to apply that pack, I just go like this. And, oh no, that's not how I do. I go to scene, and I go up here to layout, see more layouts. And you want to find the one that is the flop. We called it flop. It's under private. There it is, Brandon Flop. And then click on it, and it applies the flop. So there you go. And I am going to have to run, but that gives you a good sense of how we get this thing started. There's a longer video also on the channel that shows you how to add captions to this as well. And I export it and add some stuff in Final Cut. So in any event, I hope this live editing video helped you. Thanks for those that stuck around. Jim, thanks for helping me out as well. Take care.